Chat's Friday show. This week's key topic is all about, does online coaching make money? If you're a strength and conditioning coach or a personal trainer, sick of relying on working 30 plus sessions per week, then this episode is definitely for you. And for the footballers out there, make sure to stick around for this week's power tip, which is all about how is the AFL game played and what are the biggest AFL grounds in the league. If you're new to the YouTube channel, make sure to click the subscribe button on the during this episode. And if you are listening in the podcasting world and you enjoy our podcasts, please subscribe and leave a review. On this episode, I'll update you on all the episodes to be released for the upcoming week, as well as our live events scheduled in for the upcoming week. Make sure to screenshot this episode and tag us on Instagram so we can share it. We love to see who is enjoying our content. Okay, let's get straight into the show. So this week we have Chris Perkin, will be released for our Tuesday podcast episode. He's the director at West Coast Health and High Performance. He's also working part-time at the West Coast Eagles, and we're interviewing him tonight for a live one-on-one interview at 8:30 p.m. For those that listen to the podcast, you may have heard his bite-sized episode that we released a couple of weeks ago, where we hosted six high-performance facilities owners talking about their facility. Chris talked about all the sport technology that they have access to for athletes at all different levels. And he talked about the research and how they apply their research in their clinics. So if you're a physiotherapist, strength and conditioning coach, particularly if you work with rehab clients, definitely tune in on tonight's live episode on our YouTube channel. And for the podcast listeners out there, stay tuned as we release it on Tuesday. Our Get Better plan, which we release every Wednesday, will be on the top 5 things you need to do to improve your acceleration. So for all the footballers out there that want to build that separation and breakaway speed from your opponents, make sure to tune into our Get Better plan Wednesday episode. And on Friday, our bite-size episode will be with Josh Groudon, the founder of the Kicking Consultant, specifically talking about how you can improve your kicking distance. So all the footballers that want to learn how to do a torp, or just simply improve your drop punt and your kicking distance so you can penetrate defensive setups, make sure to tune into our Friday, which is just a bite-sized episode. So it'll be a 10 to 15 minute episode. So short but punchy, lots of gems provided in that episode to improve your kicking. This week's live episode will be with Mike Crichton on our YouTube channel. He's the founder of Melbourne Fitness and Performance Centre. He'll be discussing his journey as a strength and conditioning coach. He's got well over a decade in the industry, both in working with professional, semi-professional, and community-based athletes, as well as for all the business owners out there. Mike owns a gym, so we'll be discussing the creation and all the ins and outs of what it takes to run a facility for athletes, but also for community-based athletes as well, not just for professionals. So no doubt, strength and conditioning coaches, you'll want to tune into this one. Mike's got plenty of passion for the industry. He's also the group manager for the Victorian Athletic Performance Coaches Facebook group. So if you're S&C and you're not part of that group, make sure to join by searching for it on Facebook. It's a fantastic community-based platform where Mike will facilitate workshops at a great price for any experts in the industry that want to present to the group all around the country, as well as any job advertising or any jobs that are going around the country. They're genuinely, you'll first see them in that Facebook group. So we will no doubt be talking about the strength and conditioning wider industry as itself, as Mike has got his fingers on the pulse and in terms of how the industry is going and where it's heading. So make sure to tune in. That will be on Friday as we host all our one-on-one interviews. In terms of this week's key topic, all about online coaching and whether it can make money. So for myself, in my experience, I've been a personal trainer for the first 6 years of my career. I've been in the industry now for 12 years, nearly going on 13. First 6 years was a personal trainer across a whole range of different personal training setups. Your Fitness First, where you're paying that rent base. You've got your PT studios. I've worked in different ranges from bodybuilding style gyms to CrossFit gyms. And typically the models are always going to be the same. You pretty much are being paid for your time. The perk of online coaching and online programs is that you can start to develop systems and build passive income. So you're not constantly reliant on getting financial security and trading time for money. So that's a huge perk for online coaching. It's something that I've brought into my business model at Prepare Like a Pro for the last couple of years, and I highly recommend it to all personal trainers and strength and conditioning coaches. It will make for a more resilient business, particularly in these times during COVID. There's periods where it's out of your control and you're not able to train clients. Thankfully, that's not happening as often as it was over the last 3 years. However, you never know what the future lies. So if you can have a resilient business that can bring money in no matter the circumstance, then that's a huge bonus for your business model. So starting off, my recommendation if you're wanting to build an online coaching business would be to provide a combination of online consultation, so you get that face-to-face connection, which no doubt for the personal trainers and the industry coaches listening, that's why you love the industry, or one of the main reasons why is that human connection. And I think that will be no doubt a strength of yours. So we want to make sure that you're capitalizing on that and that you're enjoying the programming side of things as well by getting that one-to-one access, or you might be doing in a group setting, that group access to the athletes or clients that are on your program. So still facilitate that via Zoom, and then have either Google Sheets or an app like Team Builder to facilitate your programs where the clients and athletes can access the program through the app, and it can act like a training diary, so you can observe their progress. You can send them out progress reports to help boost motivation, and you're really encouraging the members to have autonomy on their motivation. They're not relying on seeing you all the time. You're becoming more like a coach rather than a trainer, so to speak. So the motivation and the drive is coming from them. You're simply just structuring the program and the schedule to suit their goals. So it's also quite refreshing to have these clients because they're not relying on you. They're actually developing themselves, and then you're there simply as a support and a soundboard to ask questions. So it also complements the clients that you might be seeing on a weekly basis in that sense. And I've definitely found it's a refreshing coaching experience by having the members in building their own drive and really funneling down to what is important for them and why do they want to start training, what are the results that they want to achieve. So from a money point of view, absolutely you can make money with online coaching and programming. You just need to set up a good system that works for you, that's sustainable, and like I said, has that combination of program but also that human connection. So members are going to stay on your program for longer because they feel like they've got that support and they're still getting that coaching through asking you questions on how they should be going about their program. So as we know, as strength and conditioning coaches, the context is huge. So by you being able to sell the program and how important it is to do certain warm-up protocols before a particular lift, why it's important to lift heavy, why it's important to lift fast, and all the things that a coach can provide to make really bring life to the program. So have that, whether that be on Zoom or a phone call, whatever that connection piece is, that's really, really important. And I think it's really important from a business point of view for retaining those members. And ultimately, we want the clients on the program for a longer period of time to be able to get the results that they desire. So retaining members is hugely important. And as the old saying goes, it's always much easier to save a client on your program than try and find a new one. So I highly recommend bringing in a digital product into your service-based business. And then over time, you can start to find the sweet spot on how many sessions do you do face-to-face, how many sessions are you doing online, and what is really optimal for you in terms of your business model. How much percentage are you making from your programming compared to your face-to-face coaching? And if you can get to a point where you're getting 50-50, now that if you're 100% reliant on trading your time for money, and then you get to a point in a year to 2 years' time where you're 50-50, then when it's a rainy day and you can't train clients, or due to COVID or whatever the reason might be, maybe you get a severe injury and you're not able to train your clients, you still have a good option in your programming option. So it's your family or your own financial security is in a better place. So definitely start. If you need any help, make sure to reach out. And I know it can take a bit of it's a steep learning curve going online. If you haven't got a social media presence, if you haven't got an email list, you haven't got a website, these things can take time to build them up. But the support's there. So if you have any questions or queries, make sure to reach out to me and email me at jack@preparelikeapro.com, or you can direct message me on Instagram or any of your socials. So that's this week's key topic for all the coaches out there. I just want to thank an anonymous person who wrote this fantastic review during a lockdown. And they wrote, I went through a stage at the start of after a year of COVID where I was really undermotivated due to the lockdowns. From a football point of view, I used to wake up at 4 a.m. and do a lot of my training in the preseason. I'm now at a point where I don't even want to go out for a kick with my mates. I tried many things like making an Instagram account and following all motivated accounts so I could try and get back into training. That's when I stumbled across Prepare Like a Pro. The Mark McGrath episode really got me back on track. I would recommend Prepare Like a Pro to anyone, even if you're not playing football. This podcast gives great insights into what it takes to be a pro. I want to thank this anonymous person for writing this review on our iTunes podcast. It's fantastic to be able to read these reviews, and it really does boost my motivation into making sure that we provide awesome content like the Mark McGrath episode. Podcasts are a unique thing. The only people you meet are the guests. You don't actually get to meet the audience most of the time. So to be able to read these reviews, it allows me to not only recognize what you're enjoying, but also it's good for me to hear that you guys are enjoying specific episodes, so I can attract more of those type of guests into our podcast. The reviews also act as a good way for us to reach more listeners. So if you have a minute or two and you're listening to this podcast and you're getting something out of the podcast, please write a review. You can also do that now on Spotify. So wherever you listen to podcasts, you can generally write a review these days, and it's greatly appreciated. So want to thank this anonymous person. They didn't leave their name down, which I fully respect, but I just want to make sure that you're noted by us recognizing this review on our podcast. So thank you so much. Now I'm going to stream over to Instagram to go live and answer the couple of questions that have been sent through via email from Joel and Taylor Crabtree. G'day, Instagram world, and welcome to this week's Prepare Like a Pro live chat show where I'll answer all your questions that you've sent through via the week, either through email, through live, if you're joining us in live as we speak now on Friday at 3 o'clock, or through our socials. So we've had a couple of requests for questions for this week. G'day, Darcy. Good to see you. The first one is from Joel. He sent it in through our Instagram. And Joel wrote, "Hey, I play footy and my main problem is I don't go in for the hard ball or go in for a marking contest as I feel I have fear to go for it. Can you please give me some tips on how to overcome this?" G'day, Body Magic. Good to see you, mate. So from a confidence point of view for the collision-based aspects of football, one aspect, Joel, that you can work on to help boost your confidence is building your size and your presence on the field. So building some muscle mass and some bulk around your body, so you feel more protected for these hard ball, ground ball gets or marking contests, as you've mentioned, can be a great way to build your confidence. So following a gym program like our Gainers program, which you can join for a 2-week free trial by heading over to preparelikeapro.com. That is where you lift 4 times a week. So most programs for us in season only lift 3, but for our guys guys and girls that want to gain bulk, we add in an extra total body session, which is just more core and upper body work. And that's for that reason, to develop body armor, to boost your confidence so you're able to go for that contested ball. If you start now, by the time you're playing finals where the contested ball and the competition and pressure is even higher, if you start now, you're going to be a good place come finals time to be able to win those contested balls. So not only go for them and have the confidence to do it, but actually to win the ball. And no doubt, once you start winning those contested situations, ground balls or in the air for contested marks, you'll naturally just start to go for instinct will take over. You'll just naturally go for those contests more. So that would be one way to do it from a physical point of view. And then from a coach's point of view, g'day Mitchell, how you going? Is it too late to build your conditioning, running endurance for this season? Michelle, sorry, I'll add that in at the end. So I'll add that question in. Great question. So going back to Joel, so that would be from a physical point of view. From a tactical, technical point of view, g'day Geordie Love, absolute weekly, regular, doesn't matter what time we do it. He is on, consistency pays. G'day Geordie. From a physical point of view, Joel, main thing would be gain that muscle mass and start following a program where if you're not doing any lifting, start a program now to make sure that you're in a good place come September. From a tactical, technical point of view, work with your coaches at training and specifically work on these situations. So it might just be a 1v1 where that person's putting on token pressure and then start to increase the amount of pressure that they're putting on. So it is similar to a game as the weeks go on and you start to get more confident and comfortable in those situations. So that's something that I'd handball to your coach. They'll be a lot more adverse with helping you out in that area. But from a physical point of view, get onto a gym program that's going to help you build some muscle mass, and that will help build your confidence and also help your body by building your strength in the gym. Not only will build your confidence, but also allow your body to handle more of that physicality on field. So that would be my recommendation there. Going now to Michelle, and then Will Robber, I'll go to your question next. So Michelle wrote, I'm just scrolling to see it now. Is it too late to build your conditioning, running endurance for this season? Cheers, Michelle. So you're in season, is it too late? I wouldn't say it's too late. We just want to make sure that we're mindful of how much volume we're adding into in season. So pre-season, off-season is where we want to try and build your base. And so then we can try and work at the top of the pyramid when you're in season where you're getting majority of your loads out with the football involved. So therefore you're prime for game day performance. So if we look at it like you've got, let's say, 15 to 20 Ks that you cover a week, we want majority of that with a football involved from you, because football is a tactical, technical sport. It's not as much as running is really, really important. We want to make sure that we're at this time of year for game day performance, you're doing it with your teammates. However, if you feel that your conditioning and your running is letting you down, the next step we could do is invest in a GPS unit if you haven't got one, and you see what you're getting from your training sessions. And potentially you could start to by just simply measuring your work rate in your training sessions, you might increase your work rate. So by what we measure, we improve. So investing in and Catapult sell good 10 hertz GPS units for about $200. So that would be my recommendation, just so you can analyze. Oh, sorry. Got my phone on to don't disturb. There we go. Sorry, just received a phone call. So that would be a recommendation: invest in a GPS unit so you can measure what you're getting out of games, and therefore not only can you train for your game more appropriately, but in your next off-season, pre-season, you can know what's important for your games by your coach rating your performance and yourself rating your performance, and then seeing if there's any trends in your GPS data. Did you travel more distance? Did you do more high-speed efforts? Did you do more sprinting efforts, or maybe did you run less? And then you can start to see trends in your game performance and what's important for next year's off-season, pre-season. So that would be first step. Second advice, Michelle, would be you could start doing some off-feet cross training, so where your feet stay on the ground, so things like ski erg, rower, air bike, boxing. It can be some great way where your heart rate should be well above 90% of your max for a good duration of 30 minutes or longer. And that can be a good way to, over time, build your aerobic capacity. You only need to do those one session a week. Early in the week would be better than late in the week, just because there's a little bit of residual fatigue with those type of metabolic demanding sessions. So you might do that on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And by getting in that extra stimulus, that will improve your capacity. and just familiarity with working at that level as well. So that would be the two major tips. And then in terms of your warm-ups, usually most clubs will do a running-based technique type warm-ups. Make sure you're putting good attention into those. You're not getting distracted, but you're actually concentrating on using your arms appropriately. You're stable through your hips. You're moving really efficiently across the ground, because running is a skill. And if you've got good running economy and you're traveling efficiently, you're going to get more return for effort. So that's a good way to actually train smarter, not actually always just training harder. So they're my 3 top tips for you, Michelle. Next one. Oh, I'm just trying to find our next one here. Here we go, from Will Robbo. Hey, mate, is functional cardio classes good for footy during session? Functional cardio classes, that's a title. I'd love to know what that is, functional cardio classes, but I can have a guess. I imagine there's probably TRXs involved, and you're doing sort of different planes of movement, and your heart rate must be up because you're doing cardio work. So is it appropriate for footy season? Yeah, as long as you, like I was saying before with Michelle, you're not doing a lot of ground contact work, so you're not doing like heaps of skipping or box jumps, then that can be quite damaging and not productive. But if you're doing things like the TRX work, you're doing it and you're getting some good movement in, and then your heart rate's getting up a little bit, then it can have some benefits for sure. You just want to make sure you're not doing the old saying of garbage yardage, where you're just flogging yourself for the sake of it. So have a purpose with it. What is it? Are you trying to get a body composition goal where you're trying to drop your skin folds? Are you, like Michelle, where you're trying to improve your aerobic capacity, therefore maybe have a heart rate strap and see what your heart rate's doing in the session? What is the purpose of doing those sort of sessions? Because they're definitely not specific to your football. So you want to make sure that there's something that you want to get out of it. And then once you've reached that goal, then you might strip it because it's not productive anymore, because there's only so many tickets that you can use to work out during the week as a footballer in season. And we want to use most of those tickets in training. And then obviously majority of them, or your best ones, you want to be primed for game day. So if you're exhausted come game day and your output's down, then that's when you want to start to filter on what's helping your game day and what's hindering your game day performance. So tough one to answer for you, Will, without knowing what your week looks like and what your goals are, but that would be my 2 cents there. No worries, Michelle. Next one, and if you're listening in live, you want me to answer a question, feel free to send it through. But our last one's from Taylor Crabtree. He wrote this from email. This is the first time I've heard of someone who is a personal trainer and their parents are a personal trainer. So pretty cool, Tyler. He wrote, I was wondering if you had any tips on what uni degree, experience, or more things that will make me a successful strength and conditioning coach for AFL players in the future, and how can I have a higher role in the industry? As he went on to say, my mum and dad are both PTs, so I have knowledge in the fitness industry already. So yeah, I would say, Taylor, make the most of your parents' networks, number one, because you've got an unfair advantage there by both your parents working in the industry for what I can imagine a long time when you put their experience together. So no doubt, if you look at their sort of networks, and hopefully you've already done this already, but there might be some AFL connections in there or some strength and conditioning connections at clubs. So reach out to them and catch up to them. In terms of university degree, there's a lot of great unis in Australia. We're super lucky in that space. I went to Victoria University for my bachelor's degree of sport and exercise science and absolutely loved it. So they've got great facilities. Most of the lecturers and teachers there have got hands-on experience in elite sport. So highly recommend VU. And then I'm now doing my Masters of Applied Sports Science online, and same sort of thing at Deakin University. And I'm finding the lecturers, which for me makes the difference, because obviously the content you can pretty much find anywhere. If you want to, you could research it online. So the content isn't really the huge grab. It's the connections that you make with your lecturers and the teaching that they provide. So for me, Deakin and VU, I've had great experiences with, and I highly recommend. And if you do want to be a strength and conditioning coach for AFL players, this advice was given to me when I had that same goal, Tyler. And basically, you need to have as a minimum your bachelor's of sports science, and then you want to start getting experience in the field, whether it be at community level with junior clubs, whether that be working at NAB League, whether that be working at state league level. There's going to be a process before you get to the AFL level, and you want that process as well. So then you feel ready and competent to be able to provide input to those best of the best, the cream of the crop athletes in the country. So it's a slow burn. Take your time with it. Enjoy the process. But that would be my recommendation. Definitely go to uni. Make the most of your parents' networks and get as experience as early as you can. All right, last one from Bronwyn King. What would you say are the biggest buckets to fill for young footballers who haven't seen much of gym time? I'm just trying to like a comment, but for some reason it's not letting me. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Biggest buckets to fill for young footballers. I would say, well, movement efficiency. So make sure you run well. So have a running coach, whether you do track and field or you've got a coach, a strength and conditioning coach that's got experience with improving running efficiency. So that's slow running efficiency. That's your threshold-based running, so like the speed that you move for like a 2K time trial, for example. That's your repeat speed efforts, so those high, hard efforts on the field. And that's your sprinting technique. Then we've also got your first three steps, your acceleration technique and change of direction techniques, so ability to decelerate when you're moving at speed and change direction. So there's lots of layers to a footballer and how they move. So that's why we want to make sure we're putting good time into how well you move on the field. So running would be a big bucket for me. If you haven't seen much time in the gym, then just start. Whether that be doing some home-based movements, we've got a whole playlist dedicated to bodyweight movements on our YouTube channel, so you could follow those workouts that myself and my partner's yoga teacher designed during lockdown in 2020. So that would be a good place to start, is doing some bodyweight strength exercises that you can do from home to build your movement patterns like squatting, hinging, push-ups, so pressing and pulling movement patterns. Starting in the gym would be a big bucket, and making sure you're focusing on strength and power. You're not focusing on bodybuilding type methods as such, more about athletic type training. And then that would probably be the main two in terms of athletic development for a young footballer. Staying in my lane from a physical point of view, obviously it's a tactical, technical point of view. So making sure that you're working on your kicking and your tactical understanding of the game. That would be, of course, number one for football performance. But from a strength and conditioning point of view, big buckets would be running, and you're making sure you've got a well-rounded gym program. So you do start in the gym, and that's at any age. You want to start those movement patterns. If you're playing competitive sport, it's super demanding on the body. So we want to make sure we're building good resilience, and the gym is a great place to be able to do that. Great question, guys. Thank you for engaging into this week's live episode. As I've mentioned, we've now moved it from Sundays to Fridays. If you're listening in and you want to listen to our next Prepare Like a Pro live chat show, it's going to be tonight at 8:30 p.m. with Chris Perkin. He's worked over 20 years in the industry as a physiotherapist at the West Coast Eagles, and he's now a director at the West Coast Health and Performance space in Perth. So really looking forward to our chat there. And for this week's power tip for footballers, it's all about how the AFL game is played and what are the biggest AFL grounds in the league. So ground dimension, the ground is marked out with an outer boundary, a centre square, 50 metre, and a centre circle, which is 10 metres, that dictates the positioning of the ruckman and the centre bounce. The centre square limits the number of players at a centre bounce, which is 4 per team. These players are typically known as the midfielders of each team, and primary role is to win possession and move the ball towards their goals. So our biggest ground, square per metres, MCG is over 20,181 metres. The Gabba is just over 20,000, which is second, 20,027 metres. University of Tasmania, which was interesting to me, is third, 19,000, just shy, 929. TO Stadium is 18,555. Amy Stadium, 17,235. The Giant Stadium is sixth at 16,838. Subiaco 16,768 metres, SCG 16,556, Marvel Stadium 16,134, Adelaide Oval 16,132, just shy, Blundstone Arena 15,528, and GMHBA Stadium 15,354. So there's our sort of top most popular stadiums. Obviously, the duration. So for those new to the game, it's 4 20-minute quarters with time on, the AFL game. So time on is stopped after a score until the play is restarted. So when the ball goes out of bounds, it needs to be thrown in, and the umpires can call time off at their discretion to manage injuries and any of the other on-field incidents. These time-off periods usually result in each quarter going for 30 minutes. Players in a AFL VFL game will have 23 players, 18 on the field, same as the AFL, and 5 on the bench, ready for rotation. AFL will have 22, so 4 on the bench, and a medical sub, so they can come in when a player has been ruled out due to an injury. Players on the field are typically grouped into either the midfield, rucks, backline, also known as defenders, and the forwards. Team objective. The objective of both teams is to score more points than your opposition by kicking the ball between the middle 2 posts. So there's 4 posts. The middle 2 posts will get you 6 points, and the outside post will get you 1 point. That's a quick little intro to the game for those that haven't, for our international listeners, and for those that haven't watched an AFL game or are thinking of joining and you want a little bit more information. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on any of the social platforms. But super excited to say where our academy now is less than 8 weeks away from releasing in July 1st. So if you haven't joined the waitlist, there's still 48 spots left. This is a knowledge base which will contain worksheets, online courses, and a community of like-minded individuals. We've got an academy suited for strength and conditioning coaches, specifically that want to not only work in elite sport, but also have their own online business, and also footballers. So it's a value add. So if you're on an online performance program or you're working with one of our coaches in one-on-one sessions, you get the academy as a value add, so you get it for free. If you're not on our program or you're not working with our coaches, maybe you can't afford it or it's not something that you're currently doing, but you do want access to our content, you can join the academy for a $20 rate per month. So great value in there. It has its own podcast where all the workshops and all the events that we do through the academy, all that exclusive content will also be its own private podcast. So that's content that won't be live publicly. And you'll be able to catch up with myself at least once a month for a live Q&A and a webinar. And there'll be regular catch-ups in the community as well. So highly recommend, whether you're a strength and conditioning coach looking to build your own business and work in elite sport, or you're a footballer looking to take your game to the next level, to join our waitlist. There's 48 spots left. The waitlist will receive a free month on our academy, and it's going to be an early bird price of only $20 a month, and that will never change for the waitlist people. So if you're interested, make sure to head over to academypreparelikeapro.com.au, and you can click the link in our show notes. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys tonight for the Chris Perkin episode.